Dawn rises slowly, as if time itself were taking a breath before moving on. The horizon line softens into a gentle gold, and the world wakes up in silence. Nothing rushes the movement of the light. It glides over the hills, touches the still surface of the leaves, slips through the thin mist still resting on the earth. There is something sacred in this moment when everything is still possible, a moment when human noise hasn't yet taken over the air, and the soul, for a few seconds, can hear what is usually drowned out by everyday life. It's in this silent space that many of us feel a calling, an inner whisper we don't know how to name, but that has been with us for as long as we can remember. Sometimes it shows up as a tightness in the chest, other times as an unexplainable intuition, a feeling that there is more, so much more, than what our eyes can see. And even though we feel this calling, we rarely understand what it means. We keep running, following routines, handling responsibilities, while that voice remains there, patient, waiting for the moment we finally turn inward. The idea of the light within you is not new. It has crossed ages, cultures, and spiritual traditions. It was mentioned by ancient Eastern masters, by philosophers seeking to understand the human essence, by sages who found more answers in silence than in speeches, and also by Jesus Christ, not as dogma, not as imposition, but as revelation. He spoke of light as something alive, present, already existing in the human heart. And we didn't talk only about a divine light outside of us, but about the light that lives in each being as an eternal seed. But what is this light? Why does it never go out, even when we're walking through the darkest nights? And what did Jesus really mean when he said, "We are the light of the world"? What lies behind words so simple and yet so challenging, while the sun keeps rising in the sky, casting soft, almost golden reflections all around? Imagine Jesus walking among people, walking among ordinary stories, tired eyes, wounded hearts. He doesn't just see faces, he sees that silent part everyone tries to hide, the part that suffers in silence, the part that longs for meaning, the part that carries a light we often forget to turn on. And then, in the middle of that quiet crowd, he comes closer. His steps are calm, but they carry the gentle weight of truth. He looks at the human heart, the way someone looks at a treasure buried under dust, and with an almost imperceptible gesture, he leans in and whispers two words, two simple words, yet so deep that they transform whoever truly hears them. Two words that travel through centuries and reach you now as a living invitation. This is not the moment to reveal them yet. There is something you need to feel first, something that needs to awaken. But know this, by the end of this video, you will understand why these two words carry a power that withstands time and are still available to you today. The inner light has always been described as something you don't see with your eyes, but sense with a part of your being we often forget to use. It appears in some of humanity's oldest metaphors, a flame that never goes out, a seed that stays alive even beneath the coldest soil, a divine spark resting in the heart of every person. These images aren't just poetic, they're maps. They're attempts to explain what can't be fully explained, but can be deeply felt. When Jesus Christ spoke about light, he wasn't building a religious theory. He was pointing to a truth that existed long before any doctrine. His parables were invitations, open doors for the expansion of consciousness. He said, "The lamp of the body is the eye. If your eye is sound, your whole body will be full of light." He spoke in simple terms, but never in a shallow way. He revealed light as a quiet presence, an inner intelligence that guides, heals, and transforms. This light doesn't belong to anyone. It's not the property of a specific creed. It doesn't demand titles, rigid rituals, or perfection. It only asks that you turn your attention inward. Heraclitus called it the inner fire. Socrates said truth lives within the soul, and that learning is really remembering. In the Vedas, this light appears as Atman, the eternal shine of consciousness. Buddha described it as the enlightened nature present in all beings, just waiting to be recognized. When we bring these teachings together, we see that all these masters, living in different times, cultures, and languages, were pointing to the same origin, the human interior, where the light never goes out. So why does this light feel so distant for so many people? Why do we feel lost, empty, or disconnected, even when we know, at least intellectually, that there is something greater within us? Maybe because the inner light doesn't shout. It doesn't compete with a wounded ego or try to prove anything. It simply is. And because it's so subtle, it can be easily muffled by the emotional storms we face. Fear that paralyzes, doubt that confuses, guilt that imprisons, anxiety that throws shadows on every step. These emotions create a sense of darkness, as if we were walking down a hallway with no windows. But the truth is, darkness is not the enemy of light. It is only the temporary absence of perception. The light is still there, even when you don't feel it. The soul expresses itself through delicate signs. Sometimes it's an intuition that appears out of nowhere, offering answers before you even form the question. Sometimes it's a shiver when you hear a deep truth. Sometimes it's a comfortable silence that calms the mind. This is the language of light. It doesn't use long sentences, but it speaks with clarity. And whenever you pay attention, something inside you realigns, as if remembering who you really are. Spirituality and self-knowledge become one path when you understand that nothing external can replace the inner experience of meeting yourself. It doesn't matter how many books you read, how many courses you take, how many answers you look for outside. The light you search for is nowhere else but in your own heart. That's why so many sages, throughout history, repeated that the real journey is inward. And when you close your eyes and breathe deeply, there's a moment when everything becomes clearer. The mind keeps talking, it's true, but something deeper is watching. That observer is the light, the silent presence that sees your thoughts without confusing itself with them, the strength that remains untouched even when your outer world is in chaos. It's this light that guides you in the moments when logic fails. It's this light that makes you feel there's a way, even when you can't see one. It's this light that comforts you when your pain is too big to be put into words. So why do we forget it? Maybe because we grew up believing we needed external validation, external approval, external answers. We were taught to chase everything but ourselves. We were taught to value what shines on the outside and ignore what shines on the inside. But at some point in life, everyone feels that this isn't enough. A deep tiredness appears, a kind of emptiness that no achievement can fill, and it's in that moment that the call of the inner light becomes stronger. Light does not promise a life without challenges. It doesn't remove obstacles. It doesn't wipe away pain instantly. What it does is illuminate the path, reveal meaning, strengthen the soul. With it, you don't stop going through storms, but you learn to walk through them without losing direction. The inner light is the safe point, the anchor, the loving presence that keeps you standing when everything else seems to be trying to push you down. And as this philosophical and spiritual journey unfolds, you start to notice that every master, every teaching, every tradition has been trying to guide you to the same place, back to yourself, back to that light that was born with you and never left. Now, as this understanding deepens, the sense of mystery begins to grow, because every inner search leads to a decisive moment, a moment of deep encounter. And it's at this point in the journey that the story leads us to its most symbolic, intimate, and touching scene. The moment when Jesus, with his infinite calm and awakened awareness, comes close to someone, maybe to you, to whisper two words that change everything. Something is about to be revealed, something that crosses time, something that has always been waiting for you. Morning reaches the height of its own beauty. The sun is no longer just a golden breath on the horizon. Now it slowly pours over the landscape, turning the Sea of Galilee into a living mirror. The water reflects shades of orange and pink, as if the sky had opened a secret window, letting eternity spill into the human world. The breeze blows gently, rippling the surface of the lake and carrying the smell of damp earth, olive trees, and the small houses resting along the path. Nothing is urgent. Nothing interrupts. All of nature seems to breathe in unison. It's in this cinematic setting that the story begins to take shape. Jesus walks slowly, with steps so calm they seem to move in rhythm with the very heartbeat of the world. His gaze is serene and deep, as if he notices every detail without hurry, as if every leaf, every gesture, every person were part of the same invisible mystery. He doesn't stand out through outward greatness. His presence is simple. His strength is silent. And it's exactly because of that so many feel touched by him, because his light doesn't shine to impress, but to reveal. The people around him are living their own quiet struggles. A worn-out fisherman looks at his empty nets, as if trying to understand why the sea hasn't answered him that day. A mother holds her child with tenderness, trying to hide the fear she feels in the face of an uncertain future. An elderly man, sitting in the shade of a rock, gazes at the horizon with eyes that have seen a lot and yet still carry questions he never had the courage to ask. There are also young people, travelers, merchants, pilgrims, all united not by words, but by the same invisible restlessness, the search for something that gives meaning to the journey. And among these ordinary figures is someone who symbolizes the human soul itself. It might be a tired traveler, with dusty clothes, carrying a weight in his chest he can't quite explain. It might be a woman trying to hide her tears behind a polite smile. It might be someone who simply watches in silence, as if trying not to be noticed. This person, who also represents you, carries in their eyes a silent plea for an answer, for direction, for healing, a request so human that it crosses centuries and reaches this scene like an echo of the heart. Jesus notices this soul. He always does. It doesn't matter if he's surrounded by crowds, walking down a road, or sitting by a fire. His gaze goes beyond what's visible. He recognizes what is alive inside, what's trying to shine even under layers of fear, anguish, or confusion. He walks toward this traveler, the symbol of all of us, with the calm of someone who has no intention of judging, only of illuminating. The approach happens as if time were slowing down. The air feels lighter. The wind quiets. The mind, for a moment, stops speaking. And the eyes of that person meet the eyes of Jesus. It's a gaze that doesn't force anything but doesn't avoid anything either. A gaze that penetrates gently, as if seeing not only the surface of life, but the very essence pulsing behind each person's story. Whoever stands there in front of him feels something different, not fear, not shock, but a sense of being completely seen, truly seen. Seen beyond mistakes, beyond masks, beyond defenses. Jesus offers a soft smile, almost imperceptible, yet warm enough to thaw every frozen place in the soul. And then he leans in slightly, moving closer to that person's ear. There is no rush, no exaggerated intensity, no spectacle. There is only a deep presence, human and divine at the same time. He takes a breath, as if he were about to deliver something very simple and, at the same time, absolutely essential. And then, in a whisper that seems to move through the air and touch the heart directly, he says 2 words. The sound of those words isn't loud, but inside the soul it echoes like a thunder of light. The traveler closes his eyes for a moment, feeling something expand in his chest. The woman in pain feels her tears turning into relief, as if someone had lit a small flame inside her. And the one who was completely silent feels their body relax, as if they had finally found a safe harbor after years of emotional storms. Those 2 words, not yet revealed, are not just instructions. They're not just ideas. They're like a key that unlocks a hidden door inside each person, a door that opens into something much greater, an inner place where the light never goes out, where truth is not theoretical but lived, where presence becomes as real as the air itself. The energy around them changes. The traveler takes a deep breath, and for the first time in a long while, he doesn't feel the weight of exhaustion. He feels clarity. He feels a kind of strength that doesn't come from the mind, but from the spirit. The woman feels her heart rearrange itself. The pain doesn't vanish instantly, but it stops being a prison and becomes a process. The one who was lost finds, in that moment, something like a compass. The scene remains silent. Jesus doesn't add explanations, doesn't give long speeches, doesn't try to convince anyone, because his wisdom isn't just in his words, but in the space between them, in the silence that allows the heart to receive what the mind is not yet able to understand. He simply looks at that person with tenderness, as if saying, "You already knew? I just reminded you." And that is one of the deepest truths about his message. He doesn't bring light from the outside. He awakens the light that already exists within every human being. He doesn't hand out something new. He activates something ancient, eternal, essential. That's why his simple words carry so much power, because they don't come from a place of external authority, but from communion with inner truth. The 2 words he whispers in that moment vibrate at a frequency that can only be felt, never fully explained. They light up sleeping memories, awaken deep wisdom, heal wounds that were never spoken out loud. It's as if the heart were saying, "Yes, I remember." And it's that remembering that changes everything, because from the moment this light awakens, something shifts forever. It's not about a sudden, miraculous, movie-like transformation. It's about a shift in consciousness, a deeper perception of who you really are, of the fact that even on the days when the world feels heavy, there is something inside you that remains intact, something that doesn't bend, doesn't give up, doesn't disappear, something that can guide your steps, strengthen your choices, calm your fears. The scene brings you closer to that mystery. It makes you feel like you are also there, on the shores of the Sea of Galilee, listening to the soft sound of the water, feeling the breeze on your skin, watching the gaze of Jesus settle into yours, and receiving the same eternal message from him, not meant for a few people, but for every being that carries a soul. And as the scene comes to a close, the sense of expectancy grows, because you still haven't heard the words, but you already feel their effect. And maybe that is the deepest part of the mystery. The light begins to awaken even before the revelation. Something is about to be spoken, something simple, something eternal. And when those 2 words are revealed, everything will make sense. The air feels suspended. The moment before a revelation is always one of the most sacred, because within it there is pure expectation, total openness, the soul silently ready to receive. The traveler, the woman, the elder, each person in that scene, and you, right now, remain still, as if time itself were waiting alongside you. The sunlight falls over the Sea of Galilee in a way that feels almost symbolic, as if the world were about to witness an ancient secret finally being remembered. Then, with the serenity of someone who knows the human heart deeply, Jesus lets the 2 words slip out, words so simple they could go unnoticed. But when truly heard, they transform the way you see yourself, the way you feel, the way you walk through life. He says, "Be light." The phrase doesn't arrive like a rigid command or a spiritual demand. It arrives like an invitation, like a reminder, as if Jesus were saying, I know who you truly are. Allow yourself to remember. The traveler feels the echo of these words inside. It's not a mental or rational echo. It's an echo that vibrates in the chest, that spreads through the body, that touches ancient memories and maybe even older than this lifetime. Be light. There is something deeply freeing in this expression, because it doesn't say become light as if you had to earn something far away from you. It doesn't say search for light as if it were hidden somewhere outside. It says be, as if revealing that the light is already here, just waiting for permission to shine. Light doesn't need to be installed. It needs to be remembered. Jesus always taught about this truth. When he said, you are the light of the world, he wasn't simply praising human virtues. He was declaring a spiritual reality. When he said, the light shines in the darkness and the darkness has not overcome it, he was describing what happens inside the soul when it discovers its own luminous nature. He knew that no one is separated from this light. He knew that darkness can never extinguish it, only cover it for a while. Be light. These words hold 3 levels of depth. The first level is a call to presence. Being light means being here, fully, awake, conscious. It means not getting lost in the noise of the mind, not drowning in inner shadows, not shrinking down to what the world tries to label you as. Light is pure presence. The second level is an invitation to compassion. Light doesn't judge, it illuminates, it doesn't demand, it welcomes, it doesn't fight darkness, it simply transforms it by existing. When Jesus says, be light, he is saying, allow your presence to be healing, even if silently, even if discreetly. The third level is return to your essence. It's the remembrance that you're not just a body having experiences. You are a consciousness inhabiting a body. You are the eternal spark that observes, that learns, that grows. Light is your deepest identity, not a quality you acquire. The beauty of this phrase is that it doesn't promise you'll never face dark nights again. It doesn't say you won't feel fear, pain, loss, or doubt, but it assures you that even in those moments, the light continues to exist in you. And when you choose to be light, even for a brief instant, your inner shadows start to reorganize. They don't disappear like magic, but they stop controlling your vision. Darkness loses its hold when the light is recognized. Being light means taking a deep breath when everything feels confusing. It means choosing kindness when the world offers harshness. It means staying true to yourself when life pushes you to rush. It means looking within and finding a quiet point that remains intact, even when the outside feels like a storm. And this is why those 2 words have become timeless, because they don't age. They don't depend on a specific historical context, language, or culture. They speak to the human spirit, not to temporary beliefs. They remind you of who you are, who you've always been, who you will always be. After hearing them, the traveler inhales deeply, as if he had just received a breath of life. The woman feels her heart, once tight, expand and find space to breathe. The elder smiles, like someone who finally found the answer he'd been seeking since youth. And you may feel a quiet understanding starting to grow inside, because deep down, you always knew. Be light. So simple, so profound, so true. When Jesus whispers, be light, those words don't stay trapped in that scene by the Galilee. They don't belong only to the past. They unfold into everyday life, into the rhythm of the hours, into the flow of your days. Inner light is not an abstract concept, it's a living practice, a way of being. Being light begins with your breathing. Breathe consciously. Let the air enter, as if bringing clarity, and leave, as if taking away a bit of the weight you're carrying. With every breath, you remind your body and mind that there is space within you, that there is silence, that there is presence. Light shows up where there's a pause. Being light also means observing your feelings without becoming them. When sadness comes, welcome it like a cloud passing through the sky. When fear shows up, acknowledge it without allowing it to dictate your choices. Light doesn't deny emotions. It illuminates the way so you don't get lost inside them. In everyday life, you can be light through small actions. A deliberate act of kindness, a soft word spoken to someone who's anxious, a listening silence offered to someone who needs to vent. Light expresses itself in simple gestures that nonetheless touch deeply whoever receives them. And when difficulties arise, because they always do, remember the teaching. Be light precisely there. In the argument that tries to steal your peace, in the anxiety that tightens your chest, in the indecision that creates confusion, in the loneliness that keeps visiting you, light doesn't show up only in quiet moments. It shines even more clearly in the shadows. Allowing yourself to be light is a daily process. It's not a one-time event, nor a permanent state. It's a choice, a constant remembering that there is something inside you that can illuminate whatever needs to be seen, and with each small decision, that light grows stronger. Before we end this journey, give yourself a moment of stillness. It doesn't matter where you are right now, sitting, lying down, in a quiet place, or even listening to this video while your day unfolds around you. Your inner light is accessible in any circumstance. What matters is your intention. Close your eyes gently. Take a deep breath, letting the air in without effort, filling your chest with a sense of expansion. Feel the air leaving slowly, as if it were carrying away built-up tension, scattered thoughts, fragments of worry. Breathe in once more, this time with a clear intention to come closer to yourself. Let each inhale deepen your presence, and each exhale create space for peace. Now, bring your attention to the center of your chest, that mysterious point so many masters refer to, the place so many traditions describe as the space of the soul. Imagine a tiny spark there. At first, it's subtle, like a shy flicker, but watch it with kindness. The more you recognize it, the stronger it becomes. It starts to pulse, as if responding to your awareness. A gentle glow, delicate yet constant. With each breath, this spark expands. First, it lights up the inside of your chest, like a flame that warms and calms. Then, it grows toward your shoulders, your abdomen, your arms, your legs. You don't force anything. You simply allow. Light spreads because that's its nature, to illuminate wherever it is recognized. Feel this light now filling your entire body. Not as something imaginary, but as a real presence, like a quiet vibration flowing through every part of you. Maybe you feel warmth. Maybe you feel a lightness you can't explain. Maybe you just feel a comfortable silence. Whatever you feel is right. Inner light doesn't arrive with demands. It arrives to reveal. Now, repeat mentally, with intention, with sincerity, with surrender, the 2 words Jesus whispered. Be light. Repeat them once more, but this time directing the phrase inward as a loving reminder, as permission, be light. Notice the effect of these words on your energetic, emotional, and spiritual body. Feel the light gaining direction. Notice how they reorganize scattered thoughts, soften tension, awaken a silent strength, a quiet confidence. Now, imagine this light expanding beyond your body. First, it forms a small luminous field around you, like a soft halo. Then it stretches farther, brightening the space you're in. After that, it goes even beyond and reaching loved ones, situations that worry you, memories that need healing. It's not you forcing this to happen. The light simply flows. Let yourself rest inside this luminous presence. Feel yourself being held by it, as if you were being reminded that you have never walked alone. Your inner light has always been there. It was just waiting for you to look back at it. And now, with a calmer soul and a more open heart, take one more deep breath. Gently bring your awareness back to your physical body, to the sounds around you, to the present moment. And when you're ready, open your eyes slowly, carrying with you the light you just awakened. It is yours. It always has been, and it keeps shining in you. The light you felt, awakened, or remembered during this ritual was not created just now. It wasn't born in this moment, and it certainly doesn't depend on this video to exist. It has always been there, quiet, patient, waiting for the moment you would allow yourself to feel it again. That light is your essence. It's what remains when fear passes, when anxiety fades, when the masks fall. It is your truest core. And as you return to the natural flow of your day, carry this gentle awareness with you. Every step you take from here on out can be lit by this inner presence, whether in the conversations you have, the decisions you need to make, the challenges that arise, or even in the quiet of your routine. The light will be there as a kind of inner compass, not to point to external paths, but to keep you aligned with who you truly are. Jesus always pointed to this place within us. His teaching was not about complex rituals or rigid structures. He spoke about presence, compassion, and awareness. He spoke of the kingdom of God as something that is within you. He reminded us, in simple words, that real transformation begins inside, not outside. And when he whispered, be light, he was saying, recognize who you are and allow yourself to live from that place. This journey you've taken here doesn't end when this video finishes. It continues in the way you see the world, and how you respond to situations, and how you treat yourself and others. It continues when you choose to breathe before reacting, when you choose gentleness instead of harshness, when you offer silence instead of judgment. Every small action is an expression of this light you now know you carry. And if this message touched your heart, if it awakened something that might have been asleep, you can help this light reach more people, not out of obligation, but as a natural movement of someone who understands that what transforms shouldn't be kept to oneself. When you like this video, subscribe to this channel, or share it with someone who needs these words, you're helping this light expand. You're allowing more people to remember what also exists within them. Think for a moment. How many lives could be softened by 2 simple reminders? Be light. How many people right now are needing this insight, this pause, this presence? Your gesture can be the thread that connects this message to the heart of someone who is struggling in silence. And so, we end this journey with a sentence that isn't just a conclusion, but a return to the essential, a sentence that echoes through time, that resonates with universal teachings, that aligns with the wisdom of masters, philosophers, and seekers. The sentence is this: the light you're searching for has always been within you. May it keep shining, may it keep guiding you, and may you never again forget what you heard today. Be light.